through your blood. This is why it's so important to choose good foods so those sugar bugs can't live on our teeth and in our bodies. So now that we know where sugar bugs come from, what foods should we eat to keep our mouths and bodies healthy? Well, whole grains like oatmeal or brown rice, and other foods like cheese, veggies, or fresh fruits are the foods that will help us have energy and feel good. We have to eat many different kinds of food every day to keep us healthy when we're young and also when we're old.
It was kind of funny. Oh, I'm sorry. Jumped the gun there. No, actually, when I was younger, my parents used the sugar bugs actually quite a bit on me, and it scared the living daylights out of me. And so there's a lot of things I avoided to eat. And my parents were really good because they cooked a lot, gave us a lot of nutritious food. One of the things that they did is whenever we go on road trips, all bets were off. We'd get candy, and I'd get like wicked bad sugar burns and everything else in my mouth. And and I felt super sick. I was like almost throwing up to that point. And so this is me talking to a 7-year-old, so I'm trying to relate here. And so obviously, if we eat stuff like that, we're going to feel crummy inside. So what are some of the things that's going to make us feel better? Obviously, we think about vegetables, we think about fruits and proper quantities, because we know if we eat too many fruits, bad things happen. And right? Yeah. Don't need to go any further with that, right? And we also need to continue to drink lots of fluids and water. And as we do that, we'll be able to grow super strong. I remember when I was younger, we also had an opportunity to grow plants within our home. And that visual gave us to not only take care of something, but watch it grow. And it took proper things like correct soil, it took water, and it also took sunlight. And so same thing with our bodies, is we need to provide it with proper fuel so it can grow to its fullest potential. And so as a 7-year-old, or as any kid, or as any adult, is that we need to provide the best nutrients so that we can grow up and we can provide happiness. Plants make me feel happy. And so, let's try to provide happiness to the rest of the community through our proper health.
Colin, you're on.
Thank you. Well, speaking to a 7-year-old, every 7-year-old is different and has a different understanding of the world and where they fit into it, and everyone has different educational levels. So I'm assuming as a 7-year-old, I'm just going to kind of dumb things down a little bit, but I'm not going to presume that you don't know anything. You do know that things don't feel good when you eat the wrong thing. If we can all agree, yeah, you eat too much sugar, you're going to feel really bad afterwards. That's really important to connect with the kid and make them feel like, yeah, that's something that I can recognize as being a nasty consequence of eating the wrong things. It's harder to get them to eat the things that we, through our scientific understanding, have recognized as being particularly beneficial for our growing. And at that point, you kind of have to play to the kid's hand and figure out what their interests are. But say the kid's really into sports. You can totally say, make the connection of like, if you are eating a whole bunch of foods that are not good for you, such as cakes, cookies, sugars of all sorts, even too much fruits, you're not going to swing the bat as hard. You're not going to feel ready to go and kick that goal. Whereas if you eat all the foods that we together have figured out work for you and make you feel good, then you are going to have a much better chance of earning that trophy or doing whatever it is that's important to you. And as a dentist, whenever I'm talking to kids, I always have to talk about it's cavities and blah blah blah, which is super important because it's one of the, if not the most prevalent disease in the nation is cavities. And it is super nasty for kids to have to stay at home from school with a toothache.
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah, that.
So I think it's really hard to convince a 7-year-old kid and explain to them why this food is good and this food is bad. And so I really think that you have to talk to the parents with this issue. And we have to keep in mind that kids are bombarded with advertisements all day long telling them they should eat this certain kind of food because Scooby-Doo and SpongeBob is on the box. And so we have to keep that in mind when we're talking to these kids. And when the kid exclaims, "Oh, Mom, I really want to go to McDonald's," what they're really meaning is, "I really want that toy, and I really want to go play with my friends." And so we have to teach parents to make that distinction, that when the kid wants a certain type of food, it's because their favorite cartoon character is on it, because they saw it on TV. Another thing that children have a problem with is that they think all healthy food is yucky and that it tastes bad because it's full of fruits and vegetables. And so I would talk to my 7-year-old patient and say, you know, you can make the most delicious ice cream out of raw milk and raw cream and maple syrup, and it will be so nutritious for you, and it will taste so good. And just the same thing with a hamburger. If a kid really loves a cheeseburger, okay, get some good sourdough bread with grass-fed beef and raw cheese, and you can make such a delicious, healthy cheeseburger that the kid will actually want to eat and will have fun eating it at the same time. Thank you. Anyone want to add anything? You good? You have a minute if I forgot to get to the first question, sorry.
Just talking about cavities more. Kids growing up, it's super important to build good habits. And we can kind of control their habits a little bit by controlling what they're eating. Different foods create different responses in the body, hormonal responses. If you have a whole bunch of fat swimming around in your blood, even if it's good fat, you're going to start craving fat. So I think it's really important to, work with whoever it is that you need to work with to convince your kid to eat the right things and to not overindulge on things that in too much quantities would not be healthy. Can't argue with that. That's right.
Okay, question 3. What are the controversies in asserting that food is a foundation to health in medical practice? We'll be starting with Anna this time.
Yeah, I'm going to start with the whopper of a question here. So in assessing my patient's needs, I'm sure as many of you do, I often start with Maslow's hierarchy of needs pyramids, and I'm sure a lot of you clinicians have heard that over and over and over. But basically it states that a person's physiological needs, like acquiring food to survive, must be met before that person can move upward to meet their safety needs, which includes health. So I believe a controversy here is that there's a belief that equal access to fresh food is a right versus the belief that access to fresh food is a privilege that we have to earn. So for many communities across the United States, we can see that a prevention of illness, including access to that quality food as a means to better health, is lacking. Yet each year we can see that we spend an exorbitant amount of money on high-level health care every year. So these priorities in our society, or the lack thereof, I think speak volumes about where we are for advancements of medicine, that we do have high-level care, but also that there's a disparity here. So in medical practice, we're not practicing justice and fairness if we're giving patients tools they can't use or recommending resources that they can't acquire. This may include educating a patient about building a solid nutritional base. As an example, if I'm trying to educate a low-income patient about the value of whole food choices, but fast food's cheaper, then I'm educating outside their means. So therefore, in medical practice, if we are to assert that food is the key building block of the foundation, we must be first working to ensure that all patients actually have access to the building blocks.
Kyle.
Excellent. I think Anna hit a lot of great points. And one of the things that is access to proper health and nutrition and food. And as we see around in like a lot of communities, one of the things that we see is in lower income, less educated populations, there's a higher increase of obesity. And as we know is that heart disease is the #1 killer in America here, and it's creeping around the world. It's in fact actually now the #1 killer around the entire world. And so one of the controversies is with this is that trying to provide proper nutrition to everyone, how do we access that? How do we gain that to everyone, including those lower income and even people who live out in the boonies per se, where the only thing they have next to them is a local food mart or quickie mart. And so, and it's amazing is like in our society, we built in a lot of quick fixes. We microwave things. Whenever we're feeling sick, we pop in something that'll make us feel a little bit better. It'll kind of take away the symptoms. And so how do we move past that? How do we encourage the